Hey everyone, in this episode we may discuss items such as domestic violence, harrowing scenes, graphic scenes, and things like self-harm. We ask you to always use your discretion when listening or viewing, and be wary of the topics that may arise.
Hi everyone, welcome to The Badge and Beyond. This is our final episode for the year 2023, and we thought for this episode we would talk about Christmas. And Christmas in the Cops is a far different experience to what most people have on Christmas.
Yeah.
I don't think you'd be any different to me, Danny. Christmas in the Cops, first of all, you try and avoid it if you're one of us Christian types that is trying to celebrate it with your family. Second of all, you know if you work it, you know exactly what kind of jobs you're going to get. Tell us, how was Christmas for you working the Cops?
Well, because I don't celebrate Christmas, I would actively swap with those that do so that they could have a day off and I would work it. So I pretty much worked at least 15 Christmases in a row. So that was either a Christmas Eve night shift or it would be a Christmas day shift.
Mm-hmm.
And yes, I definitely became au fait with what we would have to expect. And it was always a pretty full-on shift if it was Christmas Eve night shift. It was very, very busy. A lot of parties, as you can imagine.
Yeah.
A lot of domestics.
Yep.
You know, there's a reason why you've stayed away from these family members all year, and then you remember when you meet up with them again, and then you just add alcohol to the mix, and it's just a terrible combination. So you knew you were going to be very busy. There's a lot of action that night, so you wouldn't be bored, that's for sure, unless you were unlucky enough to get the first job you go to was a lockup, and it was like with too many witnesses, and then that became your shift, then you hated life. But Christmas day shift I found started really slow.
Yeah.
They were still all asleep, you know, and then there was a lot of car accidents that we would go to, a lot of drink driving, and then also as people started to wake up, the domestics started again.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of deceased. You know, again, it's family members that you haven't seen in a while, so you finally go and knock on the door to grandma or grandpa, and this is why they're not answering the phone.
I remember
passed away.
I was inspector at camps there's this thing, right, like the cops at least understand, at least you're in a circle of the hierarchy, get that it's not a good shift for most people to work. So I was acting inspector, so they're like, oh, you're the acting guy, you get to do Christmas Day. I don't know, like, okay, no dramas. They're like, oh, you know, come in, start early, get the team up, race home, see the kids, so you get to see the presents because I live far enough away but not too far kind of thing. And we all know Christmas morning, unless there's a job, which usually it's like dead. It is dead for the first while. And then before I think I did that, and then I was banged straight back before I got home to the kids to see them, I got a phone call that, hey, kids are up. And my very next phone call after I hung up that phone call was, boss, we got a deceased. And so I think I went to the first deceased, saw the kids, and then there was another 2 deceased after that. So that was every car we had in the morning. And I found a cafe, trying to find a cafe that's open to get good coffee. Yeah. Because there's never a good coffee machine in any police station. So trying to get a good coffee, which most cops live on for Christmas Day, is really difficult. I found one, and the line's like out the door, and everybody's really lovely to me because I'm in uniform. They're like, oh, no, you go up the front. So I get pushed up, and they're like, how's your day? And I'm like, 3 deaths and a domestic so far at like 10 a.m. Like, it's standard. But do you want to explain to everybody why we get so many deceased on Christmas Day?
Yeah, I mean, the problem is it's a mix of you haven't had contact with those family members in general, which is really sad. And so, for example, you want to take your kids to meet their grandparents, it's been a while, or a great aunt or great uncle, and they're not particularly receptive over the phone. They don't usually, they have a landline they don't answer or whatever it is, or it's a surprise Christmas morning thing. And then unfortunately you get a surprise when no one's answering the door. So we just get those calls all the time. Can't raise anyone in the house, can come check it out. So it'll be either us or the fireys or the ambulance knocking on the door. and then sure enough, something's happened. Also, people tend to unfortunately feel very lonely.
Yeah.
And so there'll be a lot more incidents of suicide and self-harm. So you do get a lot of that as well.
Yeah.
It kind of, if traumatic things have happened in their life, Christmas becomes a reminder that they're alone. And it's really sad. So you'll also have a lot of sort of substance abuse issues.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so there'll be overdoses inadvertently because, again, someone trying to drown their sorrows, for example. And so you do get a lot of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's quite common.
Yeah, absolutely. I think and that's usually in the morning because exactly like you said, the people are ringing up and you do the ring up Christmas phone call. Hey, I haven't spoken to you for a while, and then you ring them up, and then your parents ring them up, and then your brother, and they're like, no one can raise this guy. And no one's spoken to them. So that's your thing. The other thing that comes for Christmas is RBT.
Yeah.
Now, there's always across Christmas time some kind of traffic RBT operation, random breath testing operation, which means when we say policing isn't a numbers game, that's for a lot of things, but RBT is not one of those things. There's kind of like an expectation that every shift you have to do breath tests with so many cars and whatever else. So I would try and get that out of the way early, but sometimes...
Yeah, because it's quiet in the morning, so that's when you have to try to smash it out.
Get it out. But I remember one of the times I was working Christmas Day as one of the bosses, and I'm like, you know what? I bought everybody elf hats or Santa hats. And I'm like, let's have some fun and put it on. And one of the other sergeants was like, oh, this is bullshit. We're not doing that. I'm like, well, I'm out on the road. If the guys want to wear them, I'm not going to stop them. But the good thing about RBT on Christmas Day that I liked was, first of all, you might actually be preventing someone from crashing into the family going to their in-laws or their relo's place. They actually got to meet good people, talk to people that were happy, and they got that you were working Christmas Day, and they were kind of all right. They didn't have, we all hate the traffic snails on Christmas, but they were kind of just in a better mood.
Yeah.
And so you actually got to talk to your community that you protected rather than the people that were just like, this is revenue raising, or like the general run-of-the-mill people.
Yeah,
so it was a nicer experience.
And the good bosses would also put on like a little seafood basket or something.
Yeah.
A Christmas lunch or a Christmas dinner would be put on,
Which invariably, by the time you waited for lunch, that's when the domestics started rolling in. So it never happened where everybody got to sit down.
Yeah, it was very, very hard to do that. So you try to do like a little... at camps we did a couple of barbecues for the troops, amongst ourselves. I remember at Bankstown it was a bit better. They actually put on a really large seafood kind of hamper, which was really good. But that was quite nice. And invariably you'd get smashed by those that are already in the station. And by the time you come back, you got like a prawn head or something. But not much happening. But also the community would also give nice little Christmas cakes and hampers, and they'd, try to do their bit. And it'd be nice to see that in the station as well. So it was...
Hang on. Would you... All right, now here's the thing. Sometimes in the cops, people bring in stuff to the front counter and give you like cakes and lollies and other things. Did you ever eat that?
Okay, so largely no, but also, for example, sometimes the Lions Club would come in with a nice sort of thing, and it's packaged and whatever, so you take it. The reason we're suspicious is because people we think someone's going to put something in the food. Yeah,
cops are like the most suspicious type of people you'll ever see. They treat everybody with suspicion. So when you come in with something nice that's home cooked, thank you so much, bin. Also because if you bring in too much stuff, it's got to go in the gift register, and it's not even worth it. No. Like honestly, you've got to put that, fill out the paperwork, send that to the inspector. The inspector's got to check it, see if there's any conflict of interest. You may not even know the person. Really? Yeah.
It's all too hard.
Yeah, so most of the time, if people brought stuff in, unless it was sealed straight from the shops, I'd actually done it for a local station where I had a good interaction when I was off duty. So I took the receipt in with me and showed them my badge. I'm like, here you go, boys, put that in your meal room. But it's legit, right? Like, yeah. Very dodgy though. Otherwise, cops never eat anything that's handmade or, given to them.
Yeah.
It's got to be completely sealed.
Yeah, like the sealed box of chocolate is something that'd work. Most other things we'd struggle with. And look, I think that was the sort of the positive side of the equation. But in terms of it was you're usually guaranteed to be delivering some kind of death message, which is really hard. Yeah. You were going to go to some terrible car accident because invariably someone will be drunk driving, or under the influence of some kind of substance. And there was just the go-to, especially in the Southwest Metro. You knew you're going to get smashed. It's going to be a very busy shift. I definitely found Bankstown busier than I did Campsie. On those periods, but there was also large licensed premises that were there too. There was massive parties, but also the population density is much larger back then. And now they've sort of a little bit changed the borders, but it was a lot of work.
And look, even I remember, for me, one of my first Christmases, we had, it just came back to me. I was off team. So when you're in uniform, you work in teams, relatively the same people all the time. But if you're not on your team, you usually get relegated to like the station or something else. Yeah. But I came to this team and they had a reputation for being not the greatest. And Christmas Day, one of the girls was, she was probationary constable, but a class or two ahead of me. And they went out on the road, her and a partner who was like a 5th year constable, but lazy as kind of guy. And he just, he kind of looked hungover. And then like they went out at 6 o'clock. And I didn't see him again till lunchtime. I said, geez, where were you guys? What were you doing? Like, did you go home or something? And she said, no. He'd had a big one the night before, so he just had me drive up and down the Princess Highway in his command, get to the end, turn around, drive back, while he was sleeping in the passenger seat. I'm like, oh. As a young guy, just like, is this really the police force we're in? Like, that guy. Yeah. I remember I once worked with that guy as a sidebar, again, as a probationary constable. And we jump in the truck and he's giving me the old, all right, I'll do all the domestics, you do all the pranks. Fair call. As a probationary constable, you're not allowed to do the domestic offences. We didn't do one domestic at all. I drove all day and every time a prank came up, he copied it. Yeah. He didn't get his notebook out once that day. I was like, oh, you son of a... Yeah, so there is that, but that day we were cruising around and I was with another guy who had the unfortunate name of the Glove, and I didn't work out why, and because turn down the volume now, kids. Okay. But it was something to do with it had a sexual connotation to it.
So whatever he touched.
Yeah. So he was just again. That's why that team was so bad. But he was nice enough. He was good that day. We drive around and doing whatever, but. Right when I'm like, okay, I'm going to go home, I'm going to go to family dinner and whatnot. Neighbouring command, Signal 1, Signal 1 is like officer in need of urgent assistance, officer down kind of thing. Everybody just comes from miles away. And it was bushfires too that year, so they were already short. So we fly over there trying to deal with like a massive brawl. And it was just like, everything turned to crap. So I don't think I finished till like 8 o'clock that night. Just my whole Christmas day was gone when you're in a junior rank, so you can't do anything about it. But Christmas Day is always an interesting one for that. What I thought was interesting too was even though we worked in a very diverse community for part of our career, you still had the same issues.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
Yeah.
I would have thought in those more predominantly Muslim areas or areas with a lot of Asian cultural heritage, there wasn't as much of that going on, but it was still there. It's still really prevalent.
Yeah. And even like the good thing is because it's a public holiday for the country, so everyone's sort of celebrating in one way or another, and also you want your kids to to enjoy the experience as well, because all their friends are. You know, so yeah, and then you had the Christmas light wars, you know, and then each house is trying to outdo the other one. And
I used to enjoy our night shift trying to get around to see the best lights.
Yeah.
In the command. Yeah.
So there's like a little fun little things just to keep you entertained.
Yeah.
in different areas, but it was busy. It was constantly, you know, regardless of what year it was. Every year I just found, and because you know in Australia we're having Christmas in summer.
Yeah.
Right? So it's hot. People are drinking. They're outdoors, and so it's noisy. And then people there's still people that want to sleep and actually are going to work the next morning, or have young children. And the neighbours are just like, yeah, well, it's Christmas, so we're staying till 4 a.m.
I used to, did you get the noise, without a word of a lie, we would get noise complaints on Christmas morning about kids screaming when they got their present from Santa or something at like 5 or 5:30 in the morning. And I'm like, mate, it's Christmas Day. Calm down. Honestly, the pettiness of some people.
Yeah, and you don't want to be the police that are knocking on the door of a Christmas sort of morning where families are enjoying their day and just come as the Grinch kind of thing. What are you sort of teaching the community about who you are as well? It's not a nice thing to have to deal with, but you also don't want 600 calls from the same neighbour. The police aren't doing anything about it. Blah, blah,
that's
blah.
right.
So you have to be diplomatic in your approach. But
yeah. Look, for Christmas everybody celebrates Christmas in their own way. I know, like, in the eastern suburbs, you had a lot of the backpackers would be out on the beaches and things like that, and there was issues. And I know from when I was over that way, you'd have like rave parties and stuff on Christmas Day, on the beach with these guys, and it's just a nightmare. You know, it's really the police resources are reduced because obviously the cops have to pay public holiday rates. You know, so detectives generally aren't in the office. You generally don't have your proactive resources, some of your public order resources and things that you might have locally aren't there. Dog squad again, skeleton staff, everybody, all the other resources are on a pretty skeleton crew. So you're stuck with what you've got. But things ramp up really quickly. I know I actually got called in one Christmas night to do a coronial death in custody as well. So there's all the thing about the cops is it just doesn't stop. It's 24/7, and that's cool when you start, but as you get a family and move on in life and you want a day off, just sucks sometimes.
Yeah,
you know,
and that's the thing. It's sad that you're not like on leave like everyone else in the world is, right?
Yeah.
So,
no one, like, hardly anyone gets leave for Christmas in the cops.
Yeah.
Like I think we said before, you got to apply for that 18 months, 2 years beforehand. So really what you're doing is once the roster comes out, we were just talking beforehand about how we used to, particularly for you, like try and swap shifts, you know. How did you manage, because there's only one of you would have got multiple requests for a shift swap. How'd you get around that?
Well, there are multiple factors. So what would happen is once the Christmas roster comes out, you're like, okay, so then you're gonna, if you're working or not. And for some reason, like, I don't know why rosters would do this to me. They'd have me off. Like, why are you putting me off? I'm the one that's going to always ask to work for someone else, you know. So then as soon as it comes out, I would know because of the emails I'd get, or memos I'd get. You know, Christmas Eve night or Christmas Day, Danny, can you swap for this? So I'd have people of my rank asking to swap with me so I could cover their Christmas shift. And there'd be a number of them because people knew, like I said, about 15 years in a row, you know, I'm always going to put my hand up to offer to swap so someone can enjoy their Christmas with their family. And so I had two factors. Number one, who you were. You know, if you're a good friend of mine, then yes, you've got top billing. And then number two, what shift I'm swapping with. Like, what am I going to end up with? If I'm going to end up with some interesting offsider working a car crew that's going to do my head in, then it's not looking great for you. So they're the things I would consider on what shift I'm swapping for. But also on the night, what I was going to be doing on that night. Because if it's not my team, as we said, they're going to give me some stupid thing to do that day, like sit in the station the whole night.
Yeah.
But as I got more senior, it was mainly supervising that I would be doing. But it's funny, like, I found that a lot like the spirits were still high. Like the morale of the team, depending who you're working with, was usually also fairly high because you knew you were going to have an action kind of night.
Yeah.
And cops don't want to be bored as well. Like it's not fun sitting in the station the whole night waiting for something, or doing just RBT after RBT. That's no one signed up for that. Like, that's not what you want to do. Everything in moderation is great, but also you want to have those evening barbecue. You want to have sort of the meal with around the late night coffee all together, where you can sort of debrief to each other. You enjoy that social aspect. That's the bonding amongst the crews.
I think one of the things that kills the organisation as a whole is their lack of consideration for the cops.
Yeah.
So there's no process in place of, oh, well, you worked Christmas last year, so you don't have to work it this year. Or even to the point of, and I try to do it as an inspector of, okay, who wants to work Christmas, right?
Yeah.
Because you might have people that come from rural areas that aren't going to be able to get home for Christmas. You have people that want the money. Like you said, people that don't follow the traditional faith. So they're happy to work it. Give those people the opportunity.
Yeah.
To that end, I also, on my SPO, so I'm a student of police officer, not being paid. You do a placement, they'd put me in for Christmas Day to work in at the police station I was assigned to. And the only reason I got put out on a car crew that day was because the air conditioning was broken in the building, and the supervisor was like, oh, I'm not going to do that to the guy, so I can go out. I'm like, so I'm going to have to work Christmases for the next, have the potential to work Christmases for the next 18 years. And you've just given me like the last possible one I could have. You've rostered me for that.
Poor management decision. That's the education officer. Not thinking very clearly, which is rife. But I think regardless of any kind of public holiday comes with its challenges. And yes, like at least you're thinking the money, but then you're also thinking the tax. That's the other side of it as well. You can't do too many public holiday shifts, so they're getting smashed. But you also need to rest and recover. But I think it's more like socially, because you've got friends outside the police and family outside the police, you would like to experience some time with them, rather than get smashed Christmas, Boxing Day, the New Year's Eve. Because invariably, New Year's you're working. Right? Whether it's New Year's Eve or New Year's Day, you're working, right? So that's the other strategic side that people have to consider in terms of management. We need to allocate resources to fill New Year's as well. That was going to be a lot of public order stuff, and some commands more than others. But even then, you'd be requested to go into the city or to the Rocks or Para or whatever it was. And New Year's itself was a hell of a shift, because that's just a lot of crowd control stuff, traffic control stuff, drug detections. There was a lot happening in New Year's.
And I think that's the thing, right? When everybody else is kind of, there's that element of society. We're so 24/7 where, like retailers and stuff, they don't have a downtime at this period.
Yeah.
Cops are the same. While everybody else, like, some of the corporate offices and things, they've closed down and schools are on holiday. You're still in your busiest time of year.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, you're getting smashed. There's no like wind down, run into Christmas. We get everything done before Christmas, then we close. There's none of that.
Yeah.
You're just like, all right. It's just day on, day off, day on, day off, and you keep going after it. Sometimes I got a call out on like Boxing Day once for a sexual assault. I think it was up Manly Way, and here we are in suits trying to trudge around down near the beach and walkways and stuff, and it's like 35 degrees, and you're watching everybody else have fun, just going, oh, what am I doing? Why am I here when I should be at home with family doing family stuff? So and I think as a whole the organisation could probably fix that. That's probably why they don't have the retention, because people want to have time with their family. When you've got people that can work from home in their occupations, and then you're like, no, we don't even care about how many Christmases you work straight.
Look, and that's it. It goes back to the previous episode we did on, why there's a mass exodus from the police. Oh, it's not better.
No.
Not too much has changed since, even though they've now brought in, we'll pay you to go to the academy, doesn't fix retention rates.
No.
And some of the other states are really suffering now in terms of loss of police.
And they've been paying people for way longer than New South Wales.
Yeah. And as I said, for me, it's always leadership. You know, you need to set the tone on how you're going to look after your people.
Develop the culture.
Yeah. So things like this, public holidays, little things you could do there to throw some support. There's got to be some kind of little benefits you can give to the equation. But we just seem to be in a generation right now, or a new sort of regime where no one really cares, and everyone's looking at that. And I think the way the hierarchy is structured, it's like a term of office.
Yeah.
Right? So, I mean, you think same thing now with whether it's a prime minister or a premier or whatever. Once they're in, you know, for a fixed amount of time. You know, so they're like, oh, I've secured this for 3 years or whatever it is. And so then decision making process is no longer about your own, I'm fine, I'll be here. Right?
Yeah.
I can worry about that in my last 6 months. And even looking at politically, they know that the voting public have short memories. So it's really what's happening at the time during election time, that all these promises come and everything happens and everyone's amazing. I compare it to the domestic violence offender that comes into court on AVO day, right? I'll tell you why. All of a sudden, he's got a neck collar or a crutch, some kind of injury, right? When it's time for the hearing. And all of a sudden, he's now the coach of the kids' soccer team.
Oh, yeah.
He's the guy that's got the letter of support from the church. Like, for this hearing, right, for this AVO listing where he's sort of given it his shot, it's the best dressed he's ever been, or the most sad looking, so people can feel sorry for him. And there's all these amazing things. And I feel like political time, when it's election time, all of a sudden, all these parties really care about you, and they're going to bring in these new things, and they're going to pay for this, and they're going to slash taxes, and it never happens. And I think politically now, the office of the commissioner, looking at it from the point of view is, all right, you're in now. It takes a hell of a lot for that position to change, for someone new to come in, and there's all these machinations that happen in the background, right? But even your commanders, once they come into the police station, they're doing a stint for X amount of years, right? Unless something significant happens above, then there needs to be some shifting. But that's it. Like, you're in there, and then you're looking. The difference is the commanders are then looking, if they want to move up, and most of them want to move up. I got this period to impress with whatever. And for a commander of a police station to impress, it's usually their stats, right? So they're going to, what's their arrest rates, what's their attendance rates, what's their clear up, what's their prosecutions, what's their data, and all these proactive sort of measures and KPIs that are there. And no one thinks about the poor pleb that's on the front lines, because all he is then, or she is whatever their stats represent.
Yep.
And you're looking at people that, okay, how many searches have you done this month? How many this and how many that? And if there's always those couple of guys on the team that every shift is a lock-up, that catches up with you, right? Because then all of a sudden, they're briefs.
Yeah, the paperwork.
Yeah, and you're going to need to present briefs of evidence to court, because you're going to get smashed too if you lose, right? So then you need to be getting, a guilty result. You want to get a proper legal action rate, right? So that you're actually winning. Otherwise, it's a foul prosecution, and you've got to explain yourself on why you did that. So we're encouraging you to get out there on the road. We're encouraging you to be in people's face. We want you searching people. If you're finding stuff, that's good. And when you're finding stuff, you want to stick, right?
Yeah.
So you have to work really hard. But then if you work really hard, what happens? You get a lot of paperwork, which stops you from going back out on the road.
Yep.
Right? And if you're going to try and do both, what's the quality of the brief going to be? And then I'm going to smash you if you don't get the right result in court. So really, it's unrealistic expectations, right? And the higher you go up the chain, the more I'm looking at your numbers, right?
But here's my question to you. That is, how many people have you seen that complain about this, but they're actually not that guy? Right? On that team, right? On a team, you usually have, 2, 3, maybe 4, like top-notch killer cops that are stuck in that cycle, right? Yeah. But those guys. then you have everybody else like, oh, it's all a numbers game and it's stats, and it's not fair, and we shouldn't be stats driven. It's like, you're not doing anything.
Yep.
So yeah, I remember a 6-week review where there was 2 intelligence reports for a team that I was the duty officer for, even acting, and I did one of those intelligence reports, and the brand new pro did the other one. Yep. And when I challenged the sergeant, he's like, oh, yeah, but they went to a really bad murder. I'm like, okay, that was 1 week out of 6. Yep. What about the others? Like we're in one of a fairly busy command in Southwest Sydney. They didn't drive past anything. They didn't see anything.
Yep.
But it was that mantra of, we're not doing this. We're so busy. I'm like, you're lower than all the other teams. What are you doing?
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, that's the offset. And so those guys get pushed out. This goes back to that previous episode on policing and retention. The really good guys leave, and the bad ones sit there and complain.
Yeah.
And do nothing but cause more grief for everybody else.
And I remember for a period, because there was this phase of what they called the worm, statistical situation. Yep. Where I
remember sitting in the meetings.
Yep. The proactive intervention strategy that it shows when the worm is there, crime goes down. Right. So then everything became about the worm.
Mm-hmm.
Now, one of those superintendents or commanders who championed this worm, who was part of this worm innovation team, right? Luckily enough, he became our commander, right, over at Bankstown. Who was he unpopular? And now, without going too far, because, at the end of the day, I got to let personal feelings aside, because he wasn't a nice guy to a lot of people I had a lot of faith in and a lot of affection for. But then all of a sudden was this massive push for statistics. Mm. And they're like, this is proven, crime will go down if police are, hitting these targets and measures. And all that happened was crafty police just played the game.
That's right. The science is true.
Yep.
As long as they're genuine, proactive interventions, and the cops are doing it the right way.
Yep. And what had happened was, and I remember there was 2 or 3 superstars in the station that just kept getting all these accolades for it, until there was an incident at a school, and according to the police database, there was police there at the time, because they were doing an inspection of the school. They were doing a proactive patrol at that time, right? And they didn't see anything wrong with the locks or with the fence line or with any windows. And then that got one of the intel people to look into this a bit further, and lo and behold, it was physically impossible to get from that school to that school in that time to knock over these jobs. And all of a sudden there was 8 or 9 inspections that were completely bogus, including licensed premises. Mm. So going to hotels and pubs and clubs and talking to the publican and taking note of the certifications, making sure they're in line with the liquor licensing policies and their registration. And those 2 superheroes of the station became the 2 villains, because they made up this whole thing.
Yeah.
But it showed what kind of system you're working with, because you're encouraging people to sort of, if they can't lift their game, they will just fabricate something so that they can. So that became problematic. But you're right, if it's meaningful, it works. Mm. I mean, and having been, both of us have been part of really good proactive units, you can get a lot of great information and do some great investigations and good lockups if you do it right. But we should have spent a bit more time in teaching police how to do that well, as opposed to focusing on the numbers. And that's why people always say, is it true there's a quota and you have to get so many tickets? Look, no, you don't. But then also, a highway patrol officer that's been out for 12 hours or 10 hours of a shift and didn't find 1 traffic offence, that's a bit hard to explain. Mm. When you're you're in a metro area.
And I think that's the thing, right? And you bring that back to, that's the other side. On Christmas, probably the unsung heroes, and I don't like to call Highway Patrol unsung heroes, but those guys work New Year's, Christmas, Easter, like Anzac Day. Anytime there's a long weekend, those guys are working. And yeah, they do have it, like you said, it's not a quota, but you've got to have evidence that you did work. And they're supposed to be proactively looking for people that are speeding, people that are drink driving, using their phones, doing all the rest of those things. And look, could you imagine being the guy that gets a ticket on Christmas Day? Like, and the embarrassment of having the cranky highway patrol officer turn up at your window and give you a ticket.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. that sucks. But again, it's, that's the cops, and they don't give you that leeway that, hey, you've done, like, it's one of those things you'd think if they had a great system, if you're a high performer and you're genuinely doing good work, then give the opportunity to have Christmas Day off. Give the reward somewhere, so that they get something. And if you're in a management, have a, like, I think for Christmas Day or Boxing Day when I was running a proactive crime team, we like, all right, who wants to work Christmas Day, but you're only doing an afternoon shift, and you're really just going to be supporting GDs. So you're going to be in a uniform car, driving around trying to do the proactivity, but it's going to be late in the afternoon. I think we started them at 5 or 6 for a 10-hour shift. Yeah. So they had lunch with their family, so they got those other things. And guys volunteered for that, right? Yeah. So there are those things where it can probably be done better. Well,
I mean, I suppose that kind of ties us up for not only this episode, but for this season, for our inaugural season of The Badge and Beyond. We'd like to thank you for your support. This really is an experiment that we're trying out. It's come on the back of a lot of requests, especially from our TikToks, people telling us to launch into a podcast. They wanted more detail on the stories, and even others external to the TikTok audience pushing us for a while to start telling our stories. I think our crew back in the office, they were like, you guys, you got to bottle these stories and write a book or do a podcast, something. And it's just, we're both lazy. We're not going to write a book. So if there's ghostwriters out there that want to write our stories, you come out, we'll talk to you. But I can't see me and Anthony sitting behind anything, having the time to do that with the 2 minutes of spare time we have up our sleeve. Yep. But so thank you very much for your support. Please send in feedback. We'd love to know what you'd like and don't like, and we could do more of for next season.
Yeah, I think, guys, one of the things we like to try to do is peel back the curtain a little bit for what it's like for frontline services. So if you are in cops or you're looking to join the cops or whatnot, please tell other people about our podcast so that it'll make your life easier. So people understand you a little bit better. When you tell them something, it's not the first time they're hearing it. It resonates. They have a better understanding of why you act the way you are, what you're going to experience, and have a bit more understanding for policing in general, so that they don't just get the anti-police rhetoric, all cops are bad kind of thing, and you got paid for, you knew that being shot at was part of the job. I love the keyboard warriors you see every time something comes up.
Yeah, this is what you signed up for.
Yeah, so you should be used to being shot at, this kind of crap. Yeah. We want to put out a bit more of a counter narrative to what's out there at the moment. So please put it out there so other people can see what we're doing. And if it resonates with you, we really want to know about it. If there's something you want us to cover, we're really keen to hear. And also, look, share your story with us, because we would love to put that out there. Probably next season, we're looking for a couple of guests to come in to talk about different elements. And we'll be doing a bit more about, I think we want to help. We have one cop a week at least turn up in our office going, hey, what do I do when I leave the cops? So we'll be doing some stuff on that too. So, guys, I hope you have a very safe and Merry Christmas. And have a happy new year, and that 2024 is brilliant for you. Danny, how do we finish up today?
Look, I just want to say thanks to our sponsors. They've looked after us all year. IC Technology, ictechnology.com.au, for all things managed IT services and cyber. They've been wonderful and given us the studio, and just been amazing support for us throughout the year. Yep. And also, the company, Anthony and I, our baby, the one, and our wonderful team behind there.
Yeah, we do have a great team. And can I say a big thank you to the team? I don't even know if they listen to our podcast, but this is for you kids.
One of them has no choice.
Guys, we wanted to thank our team, also for you guys out there. We know sometimes you've got people come into the counter and they've got civil jobs or jobs that you can't do in the cops, but they need that investigative skill. Look, feel free to tell them we exist. But you'll find us at www.privateinvestigators.com.
You forgot who we are.
Forgot who we are.
Private Investigator Sydney?
We're Private Investigator Sydney? Yeah, we do. The problem is we kind of run 3 companies, so I can never keep up with it. But look, find us at privateinvestigatorsydney.com.au or just look up Precision Integrity Services. You'll find us there. And as always, team, stay safe. Be in touch if you need anything or anything we can follow up on for you. But 2023 hasn't been a bad year. We're looking forward to 2024.
See you next year.
See you guys.